Welcome back to the Stormcrow Show. This is Brady.
And I'm Josh.
Josh, why don't you kick us off this time?
Okay, hold still.
What, you were going to kick me?
Well, I said kick us off. I mean, I have to start with you. I can't kick myself off because then I'd leave and then you'd still be there.
Okay, never mind.
You mean just start the show?
Yeah, I was going to say shoot, but then that also seems like
it would even more dangerous.
Even a lot more dangerous.
All right. Okay, in all seriousness, today we're talking about, maybe a bit early in some people's minds, but we're talking about Iconic Masters. The next Master set coming out from Magic the Gathering in November, if I recall correctly. Of course, it has been fully spoiled since HasCon, which was a few weeks ago, actually possibly closer to a month ago now that I think about it. But in either case, we're going to just kind of discuss kind of our thoughts and from just different angles. Brady's going to cover more of some of the financial ways to think about the impact of the set or maybe the benefits that it provides. And I'm talking more about the iconic-ness of the set. And I'll start us off actually with there's kind of two aspects of what makes Iconic Masters iconic, according to Wizards of the Coast. The first one is, of course, that they're featuring beloved Magic cards from throughout the game's history. Obviously, this includes some very well-known cards like Mana Drain.
Yeah!
Which, of course, is super expensive. But also, I mean, from throughout its history. The other aspect, which I'll start with, is, of course, the iconic creatures. Angels, sphinxes, demons, dragons, hydras, and they are all there. And the only thing I want to mention here is just that, most of these examples are not super expensive, right? They're not, they're not. But they're, like what color do you associate as far as sort of the iconic creature in black? Demons, if it's blue, sphinxes, etc., etc. Obviously, some are exceptions, like Avacyn, Angel of Hope. That's, of course, a very expensive card, very heavily used in Commander, including, I use it in my red-white Commander deck, for that matter.
Yep.
So just, iconic cards. And I'll get into the other aspect next. But the idea is just to help understand that I'm glad, I guess I should start with this. I'm halfway through now. I'm really glad Wizards understood that iconic did not just mean iconic creatures. Here's a bunch of great angels, like Sarah Angel, very iconic, probably the first angel printed.
Yeah, pretty close to that.
Yeah, and it was rare at that time, in fact, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, how far we've come. But the thing is, if you print all those iconic cards, they're not usually worth a lot. And it's not so much worth, but we're talking about playability. I mean, some cards are playable in Standard, just don't transfer at all, or transition very well, if at all, to any other format, including Commander. And so Wizards, interestingly enough, actually, I think, kind of recognized that and hit pretty well in some other areas. But enough about that. Brady, give us your thoughts on sort of the first part of that financial thoughts that you had regarding this set.
Yeah, so because these cards haven't been heavily circulated yet, the only ones coming out of HasCon so far, we haven't seen a huge dip in prices.
Sure.
But as the set comes out in November, I expect to see many of these cards plummet in price, because one thing that makes this set so great is there's a lot of cards in here. In fact, I'm even looking at one right now called Bloodghast that was only ever printed once, maybe twice, etc., etc.
Yeah.
They've only been printed a couple times, and especially if these cards have a home in a current deck, those cards are typically very hard to get a hold of. And a lot of times they're just plain overpriced, no matter where you look.
True.
So I'm really happy about this set because there's so many cards that are getting reprints that have only been printed once, maybe twice. There's not a lot of this. Like, one thing that I'd been noticing lately in a lot of, like, the supplemental products, like Commander decks and Dual decks and stuff, is that they keep printing the kind of the same rares and stuff over and over again.
True. Which
is fine, if they're good cards for the format, sure, you want to make it fun. But at the same time, it was like it felt like they kept missing the mark on a lot of cards that really shouldn't be as expensive as they are, and would be fun in particular formats, but they just hadn't printed them, and the supply was low, and the demand is always outracing the supply. So
these cards,
yeah. So that's the first part of my my little spiel
on
the finance side. Josh, why don't you give us your other half?
I'd like to stay in one piece, please.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh, that other half. Okay, so I'm paying attention today, aren't I? So,
yes.
There's obviously a lot of cards you'll look at here and you'll say, wow, I mean, they printed Thoughtseize again. They printed this card. They printed, Lord of the Pit. I mean, okay, so I'll give you, actually, let's talk about that real quick. Lord of the Pit, great old history in terms of, it's iconic. It's just well-known card from,
Alpha.
Thank you, Alpha. I was going to say it was Alpha, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Way back in the day. Is it a great card in virtually any format? Not really. I mean, 7/7 flying trample is great, but the downside is actually quite painful.
Yes.
Thoughtseize, on the other hand, is both iconic and insanely powerful. It has warped the standard formats that it's ever been in, both during the era of Blue-Black Fairies as well as, of course, Theros. That means a lot of powerful cards were being reprinted as well, which is really good. So, let's start with one that had a huge impact in Standard when it was revealed. Restoration Angel. This card was insane with Avacyn Restored. Of course, the blue-white Delver decks existed. This card was great in blue-white Delver, mind you. It is also great against blue-white Delver, because it could easily trade against a Delver of Secrets. So just a great card all around. But it was used in both the Delver and non-Delver decks, and of course, as time went on, when they printed other cards that like being flickered, such as Thragtusk, things got really crazy, and that was the era of the mid-range deck, taking over from the tempo decks, but another subject altogether. Another example is Pro Tour Honolulu, which was from 2004? 2006? I don't know. I have a link to the YouTube event, but it was Pro Tour, when Ravnica was out, the original Ravnica. Well, guess what? For those of you who don't know, it was the grand finale, and basically with the player, he charred his opponent in the face. He was down to, I think 3 life. He's going to die next turn no matter what. He's dead. Okay? He's definitely dead. And he top decks a Lightning Helix and wins the game. And it was the era of the Miracle Lightning Helix. Well, not the era, but it was, it's so well known. And just, like I said, I have the link to the YouTube clip below. And of course, cards like Necropotence, not a very expensive card to buy today's Standard, of course, but insane back in the time it was in Standard. In fact, you basically could not play anything except black back in that day.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair. That's not even an exaggeration. That's just 100% true.
Yeah. No. Yeah. From what I hear, Josh and I weren't playing back then, but from what I hear, Necropotence was the only way to play in that time period.
Yeah, it was a really balanced time back then. Yeah. All right, Cryptic Command. Of course, I mentioned Blue-Black Fairies with Thoughtseize, but as powerful as Thoughtseize was, powerful counterspells back then, too, were a major factor, and Cryptic Command is still one of the heavyweights out there. It's not, of course, played in the older, older than modern formats, but because it's too expensive. But it will be played in Commander because it basically is a 2-for-1. It's used in Modern, of course, and it's just an all-around good card. In fact, I'll have to find that link if I can. But there was a comment that back in that day with Blue-Black Fairies that if your opponent untapped and they had 4 mana and they could cast Cryptic Command, so that the triple blue, you could not lose with a Cryptic Command in your hand in Standard at the time. That's how insanely powerful that card was and still is. So, and of course, a good example of another really cheap card that was put in Mythic, Channel, or 20 cents.
Yeah, close to that.
Wow. Wow, Wizards. But let's be honest, that card was great with Fireball, and they wanted to provide that. Plus, you get that full combo. So if you draft it and you want to win your draft and you get that combo, that's a 2-card combo that's can golf as early as turn 2 or 3, depending on the situation. Turn 2. Turn 3 for sure, I'm sure. Yeah, turn 3 would be definitely a possibility. So, anyways, so they're talking about iconic in the sense of also impact in their standard histories. Anyway, back to you, Brady.
Yeah, so I wanted to cover the other half, which isn't really financial in the same sense. Well, one note I should make.
Sure.
There's approximately 67 to 68 mythics and rares in this set.
Sure.
And I did a breakdown, and about 26 to 28 of them will pay for your pack just by opening that one card.
Based on current prices.
Based on current prices. Now, obviously, the prices are going to fall, so this isn't going to be a few months from now for a lot of these cards.
Right.
But there's a lot of cards in this set, and that was one thing that really impressed me about this set, was how much value is packed into the set. Because, when you're getting somewhere around 40% opening your packs and getting a card that's good, and that's not even counting the cards that maybe added up with like another few dollars worth of cards are going to break the price of the pack.
Yeah.
Cards like Thundermaw, Hellkite, or even Necropotence.
True.
Since both of those are under the pack price right now. But the other thing I wanted to look at was there were so many cards in this set that were rare shifted. They were shifted from rare to uncommon, or from mythic to rare, or, whatever. I love this because this is going to give a lot more value, both from a financial perspective, but also from a drafting perspective. It's going to make the draft a lot more fun. It's going to feel a lot more like, hey, I'm drafting a cube, or, a very highly tuned set.
Yeah.
And that was what I really liked when I was looking over the cards from this set, is like, wow, that's no longer a rare? It's an uncommon now? Man! I would be happy to see that in my uncommon pool.
Yeah.
So, I really, really, hats off to Wizards. Not only did they give us cards that haven't been printed a lot, but then maybe some cards that we weren't as concerned about. They're lower rarities now, so they're not going to be taking up the rare slots.
That is true. That is very true. I was gonna. No, I think we kind of covered it all.
Yeah, I think. That's all I had to cover.
Yeah,
so
that's kind of all I've covered too. Well, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and of course leave a comment if you want us to discuss something in the future. I'm not sure what we're doing next week, but then I never do, so we'll leave it at that, I suppose. Any other words, Brady?
No. Well, actually, yes.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
I lied. You can also find us on Facebook now. So
thank you. That's true.
And again, if you want to talk about specific cards from the set, or maybe some notable card misses that weren't in the set, Josh and I had some ideas, but we're just not going to get to it in this video.
Sure.
But we'd love to talk about that kind of stuff. So yeah, leave a comment and we'll talk to you.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much for watching, and you have a wonderful day. This has been the Stormcrow Show.